The road to understanding a sociological status is paved with questions such as what is architecture? Who is an architect? Every single architect has different answers for these questions, which are formed by their worldview and preferences. However, in a historical period, there have been a number of factors that affected an architect's preferences regarding what they consider aesthetic. In architecture, these factors have influenced the way of living and culture directly. There has always been certain comfort criteria that structures had to fulfill. As time has advanced, people's idea of comfort has advanced with it. Sometimes, some civilizations have failed to keep up with the change. One example of this situation would be the people living in rural parts of Turkey. An individual that has gotten used to washing their clothes in the river would fail to integrate the aesthetic that architecture forces on the individual. This would in turn cause physical hardship. This is why sociological imagination is crucial. This is the only way we can understand the actions that they take and why they take it. When we fail to do this task, that's when we know an architect has failed in understanding a sociological situation. That's when our architecture fails to do its one purpose. An architect should plan out buildings with the society's needs in mind, rather than appealing to a certain Western or Southern architectural style. An architect should only appeal to the area that the project is set to take place and nothing else. How you do a certain action does not matter in architecture. What matters is who you're doing it for, what purpose this certain structure will have. That's how you become an architect. Ever changing human needs and habits are what gives architecture its many different levels of knowledge. Especially with the advances in technology, architecture's understanding of aesthetic and useful structure has changed tremendously. Architects who design living spaces have to have a basic knowledge of human psychology. An architect who can analyze human movement and emotions can feel the life force that a structure will carry and plan out its design accordingly. This is why psychology lessons should be given to architect candidates. Certain education systems should be put in place in order to keep up with the architectural needs of communities. An architect should speak with the inhabitants of said community in order to better understand them. Building structures that stray away from usefulness and current trends push back the innovation in architecture. To create a useful structure, there has to be cooperation between experts in different areas. The design has to keep in mind the area of use it will be in. At the same time, the architecture designing the living spaces should consider physical conditions, how many people will be using the structure, what their needs will be, and such. Otherwise, the place will be designed on prejudices. This will create hardship in the future for the user. In order to combat this situation, an architect should keep a close eye on their encounters with the certain community. But sadly, the architects in our communities are not educated that way. You don't know how the society eats, how it drinks, how it washes dishes. We design structures without knowing the average height of our people. The kitchens and bathrooms that we design are wrong. Le Corbusier's unit of measurements are 1.83. Neufert units of measurements are 1.75, but our country's average height is 1.66. That's why we always have trouble using tables and chairs and etc. You design workspaces, but you design them without windows, lights, and air. You fail to see how an environment like this will lower productivity. You build long stairs without ramps, expecting the handicapped and elderly to get up the stairs magically. A project will not fit every site. You design useless designs just to make quick money. You confine people to small spaces in order to keep your costs low, and you don't design considering people's psychology. By doing so, you start to design places that are inhabitable. You fail to reach consumers. Instead of considering the comfort of the user, you only consider the aesthetic look of the structure. This leads to you designing unusable pieces of junk. The consumer gets lost in the structure. They fail to use it effectively. This is why in our country, buildings fail to stay up for long times. They are also not replaced with better versions of themselves. You also destroy the building's history in the process. This is why this is why people you take this is why people who take 4-year courses should not be eligible to become architects right away. In short, architectural is an individual and life-oriented profession. It changes periodically. A person that cannot cater to human psychology and needs is not qualified to become an architect. Also, a building that's not made with human needs in consideration is not qualified to be used. For an architectural candidate to become qualified enough to create a living space with the previous points made, the required education has to be a lot longer than 4 years. This is seen in Japan, where an architectural candidate needs a minimum of 6 years. In the US, an architectural candidate has the risk of never becoming an architect. While every other country has strict rules and regulations regarding architecture, why have we made it so easy to build and construct? An architect in Turkey has the ability to fully construct and build however they desire. Instead of greatly analyzed buildings, we get buildings with just aesthetic worry in mind. This has to change. Architects in Turkey should have a mandatory 2 years of internship after their 4 years of education. They should be included in every step of the way. Another option is to include them in projects and opportunities offered by the government while they are still enrolled full-time. This would be great to give them hands-on experience both on-site and off. This should not be left to the decision of the students, but rather be a mandatory exercise. In an architect's educational duration, they should be educated to observe and communicate effectively in order to better understand their communities and to be able to meet their demands.
Sadece mimarlık değil. Kimin için yaptırıyorsunuz? Kime neyi çözeceksiniz? Sadece mutfakların hepsi yanlış. Şu anda yapılan mutfaklar yanlış. Banyo yanlış. Bilmiyorum anlatabiliyor muyum? En önemlisi Corbusier'in verdiği ölçüler sistemi 1.83, Neufert'in verdiği ölçüler sistemi ki asıl o kitabı hazırlayan insan benim hocamdı, Hasenflug. Almanya'nın en iyi hastane mimarı. Neufert'in verdiği ölçüler 1.75 insana göredir. Bizim ortalama boyumuz ise 1.66'dır. Hiçbirimiz doğru iskemlede, doğru masada oturmuyoruz, çalışmıyoruz, yemiyoruz, içmiyoruz. Onun için de hepimizin vücutları çarpık çırpık. Hiç bu kadar duygusuz bir toplum ben görmüyorum, bilmiyorum. Yani gerçekten bilmiyorum. Bakın Suriye'de bir adam mimar olmaya karar verdiği zaman onun imza atabilmesi için 17 yıl geçiyor. Japonya'da 10 yıl geçiyor. Amerika'da hayatınızın sonuna kadar imza hakkını alamayabilirsiniz. Biz 4 yılda çok şükür gökdelen yapabilecek hale geliyoruz. Ve de devlet bize şunu yapmak zorunda. Ve bize altın tepsi üzerinde getirilecek işler, biz de lütfen bir şeyler çizeceğiz. O çizdiğimiz şeylerin de kendi insanımızla hiçbir ilişkisi yok. Ne yıkanmasını düşünüyor, ne yemeği düşünüyor, nasıl bulaşık yıkar onu bilmiyor. Yani her şey yanlış. Mesela eviyenin nasıl yerleştirileceğini bilmiyor. İtalya, her zaman söylerim onu, İtalya'daki solaklar için yapılmış eviyeyi bizim salaklar kullanıyor. Bu kadar kötü konuşuyorum. Gerçekten ne kadar acılı, 83 yaşında bir adam olarak ne kadar acılı olduğumu bilin diye. Hiç şey değil, beni düşünmeniz için değil. Siz kendinizi düşünün. Yani kimin için çalışıyorsunuz? Ne yapıyorsunuz? Neyi yapmak istiyorsunuz? Zaha Hadid gibi proje yapacağım da ne olacak? Niye uygulanamadı hiçbir şey? Onun bürosunda çalışan 2 kişi anlattılar. Önce böyle ortogonal plan yapılıyor. Sonra Zaha geliyor buradan çekiştiriyor. Bunu buraya çekiştiriyor. Bunu buraya çekiştiriyor. O Zaha Hadid projesi oluyor. Yani böyle bir insana biz hayran. 2005'te UİA toplantısında Zaha Hadid böyle hınca hınç dolu. Çünkü okulda onunla beyinlerini yıkıyorlar.